let me see. Oh, it looks like we're recording.
Woo.
Okay.
Are you going to be able to edit it, or you just have to go with what you get?
I think you just have to go with what you get. We can try it out, and if something happens, we can, we'll just go with it. It's our first video. Great. So this is our Unit 1 team video. Excuse me. My name is Sarah Dudley, and I focused on the 2016 K-12 edition, the 2017 Nordic edition, the 2017 Chinese Higher Education edition, and the 2017 Higher Education edition.
My name is Leanna Neiman, and I focused on the 2015 and 2016 Museum edition of the Horizon Standards, as well as the 2016 Higher Education Standards.
My name is Mandy Young, and I focused on the 2018 K-12, the 2017 K-12, and the 2017 the Library edition.
So when y'all are looking through your reports, what similarities did you notice among the reports?
So specifically in the ones that I looked at, I noticed that the BYOD standards were mentioned twice, like the exact same article. So looking at like the curation of resources that the students would have to look at with those IST standards, it actually flowed pretty well across the board.
Yeah, I agree. The similarities that I noticed were that they were all structured the same. Even though I did K-12 and then I did the library, they still had the same kind of structure and asked the same type of questions. For example, they talked about the significant changes, the important development. One of the key things I thought was the expanding access and convenience, talking about people expect to be able to learn and work anywhere with constant access to learning material as well as each other. That was constant through all three of them.
Yeah, mine were similar too. Like I was just skimming through them since it was our first one, and I looked at the table of contents of all of them, and same thing. They were structured the same way. It looked at those key trends with short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. The time frame for all the report for each of the readings was about the same, less than 1 year, 2 to 3 years, 4 to 5 years. And so, it's kind of nice seeing that they're all structured similarly and makes it easy to, go through and read them.
I also noticed on the bottom, if you went into the resources section of the actual article, it gave you some things to look at that went with it. And I thought that was really great. That was something that I liked.
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely can see how it would help educators help their students. So.
Absolutely. One of the trends that I noticed with all of our reports was that it kind of had a STEAM theme, integrating STEM throughout the content levels, and specifically with like makerspaces. I found that really interesting that makerspaces popped up, and again that being digitally literate with students popped up as well as with teachers too.
Yeah, I completely agree with it as well.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be the wave of the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So our second question that we're going to be addressing is, what did you notice in regards to the IST standards in this particular unit?
So for mine, I focused on the teacher standard, and pretty much they all aligned really well with that standard, and even with the other standards too that we kind of looked at. But the teacher standard, it's really talking about just focusing on making sure that teachers educate themselves, be prepared, just be aware of those trends that are coming up. That way they can stay on top of stuff, and just like I said, be aware of what's coming up. Don't just stay stagnant on what you're doing. Like you're mentioning the makerspace. Something else I saw was the mobile learning. So it's just they're trying to reach out to where it makes that learning it makes those experiences better for the children, and it helps enhance their creativity, and gives them gives them opportunities, whether it's face to face, but also those virtual environments and enhancing their learning. I think also looking at that teachers need to be aware of those possible obstacles that that may come up with certain technological components. So as they're ready to report, each of them directly addressed things that teachers and educators and administrators can do and what they can expect in the future.
Mhm.
And then I had the computational thinker, and it really aligned with a lot of the things that they were talking about inside the Horizon reports. It said one of the key things was fostering authentic learning. And even in my certification, they always are talking about how you have to make learning real life experiences for your students. So, you know, that's right there with those ISTE standards.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
The one that I focused on was the knowledge constructor, and looking at the BYOD and the maker spaces, really having an opportunity for students to build and to process their learning in a way that really affected the real world. And that's really important because a lot of times students in classrooms are thinking, well, man, I'm never going to use this, or when will this matter for me later on? So having things like maker spaces and using your own device and using it for an educational purpose more than just like Snapchat or Instagram or Facebook, that really makes students see that their learning is around them on a daily basis. So that was a great read for me.
Yeah.
And then my question was, what did you notice in regards to them relating to the ISTE standard in this unit?
Right.
Is that right? That's question 3. But I feel like
I think that's what we just talked.
I know. What about, did we do implications? Do they have for educational field? Okay. Oh, but I had numbered them 1, 2, 3, so that's why I did that.
I'm sorry, I was looking at it like from our other one. That's not for me.
Okay. So, what implications do they have for the education field, and how can you use your knowledge to assist your colleagues and or campus? And I said these reports not only show us the trends from the past, but the ideas and the focus of the future. These reports show us just how diligent the education field is working to keep up with the 21st century. And one of the significant sentences I found in these reports was, to plan for the future, it is important to look back. So me being a history major, that just makes me always think about, you know, history repeats itself and how it is important. And it is valuable for us to look back over all these reports and find the trends and see where we are going and what we're doing really well at and what we need to work on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that I was looking at one of the quotes that really stood out to me was that you know, they agree that these reports are driving the technology planning and the decision making over the next 5 years. So similar to what I was saying about the ISTE standards, teachers need to be aware of the upcoming trends, familiarize themselves. These things are going to be important aspects in helping children learn, and that finding ways to incorporate those things into the classroom. But at the same time, administration needs to be on board to support teachers and provide those professional development opportunities. And like immediately I was thinking the best thing I can do right now is, as we're getting into these Horizon reports, is just kind of sharing the information with my campus and my colleagues. We use technology, but not necessarily the way that the reports discuss. And so I think just beginning to introduce them, and because I don't think if I were to talk to my campus about the Horizon reports, I don't think they're familiar with them. So kind of just beginning to share that information that we're learning through this course.
So my campus is a T-STEM designated school, and we do have a makerspace on campus, and we do have BYOD standards to follow. But what I noticed with the Horizon reports just in general was funding was something that popped up quite often. And even though my school has those resources, there are other schools within my district that don't. So I feel that it's very important for me as someone who has this on my campus and is educated about the types of things that we can do. I need to be able to share those with other people and to assist them like with grant writing and finding the funds and finding the partnerships that will help them have these resources on their campus.
Very nice. I'm going to hit stop recording.